I'm an actor, and I haven't acted in 5+ years.
You have a fan base. That fan base has gotten you into fan conventions. That gives us 13 weekends of Fame Fantasy Camp.
I dress like an asshole. I dance around like a monkey. And my career is over.
Set behind the scenes in the world of fan conventions.
Oh, he's out of his mind.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hell of a weekend.
Hello. Whose room is this? I'm doing my stage vocal warm-ups.
Rob's now in emotional turmoil.
Where did it all go so pear-shaped?
Damn.
Thank you, Whippany. I'm out.
If you'd introduced me like that, I'd have punched you in the teeth.
You do not bite the hand that feeds you, and you sure as hell don't let it give you a tug job.
I'm going through a dry spell right now, but that's the biz.
Oh, Rich! Oh, that's burned in.
Asshole!
Now, guys, I really love this show. I really enjoy this show. Tell me a little bit about how this got started. I mean, obviously, you guys had your experience with the Comic-Con lifestyle.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about how you concepted this.
Well, Robbie and I have been involved in the show Supernatural
Of course,
for a
let's give it a
long
round for that.
time.
Yes, absolutely.
For a long time.
Long-running show.
And we've done just a blue million conventions for them over the years, going back 7 years about, right?
Yeah,
And,
well, yeah.
And Robbie and I met, we knew of each other, but we really met doing those conventions because our episodes didn't overlap and we didn't work together in the show.
Yeah, we've literally traveled the world doing supernatural conventions, and that's where our friendship kind of formed. And we had a very similar sense of humor.
Right.
We were paired together on stage a lot, doing talks, Q&As on stage. And
Yeah, we kept finding ourselves being paired up and doing things and making complete goofs of ourselves and on stage and off, finding ourselves in situations that made us laugh, certainly. And we thought, this whole world, which was unique to us when we started, the whole convention world, was a great backdrop for stories, for entertainment, for comedy. And we were finding a lot of comedy in the world. And again, I think there's a bit of a line of confusion or contention, if you will, between people who know conventions and people who don't. Because people who don't know conventions are always like, oh, the fans, right? I mean, they're crazy, right? They're weird. Right. No, man, the fans are pretty dialed in.
Yeah.
The actors are crazy and weird, and they're problematic.
Yeah. We always say, like, we have these meet and greets where we sit down with like 10 people and get to know. We'd go around the table. Hey, what do you do? What everybody's like, doctors, working in prisons,
helping
with people,
with children,
And it gets back to you, and you're like, I pretend for a living.
I sell soda. Yeah, you realize there's people don't understand the world who don't understand the world, and the world is awesome and filled with very interesting and unique people from every walk of life, and the craziest people in the room are the actors who are paid to be there. And that's the story we wanted to tell, and that's the perspective we wanted to take.
Yeah, we were getting into these real life, we get ourselves into pickles, and we'd write down these little stories of things that would happen, and they became nuggets of ideas for this show.
Yeah, and so was San Diego Comic-Con is the major one. That's the one that everybody's familiar with. And then now we have one in New York City.
Right.
But they're all over the world, like you said before. I mean, what was your first Comic-Con experience, and what was that like?
Well, our first Comic-Con experience is sort of different than our first con experience, because Robbie and I have largely done supernatural standalone conventions, which are mainly hosted in the United States by a company called Creation. And they do 3 days of just supernatural. I mean, it's just a.
And how many people are we talking about in the room?
It can be up to 2,500 people on a packed day. So it's a popular and well sustained convention circuit. Look, the show's been on for it's going in its 13th season.
It will, and it's going into 13th season largely because the social media and the networks are listening to social media now, and our fans are very loyal and very vocal about their love for the show, and the networks are listening, and that's why it's still going. So so it's great. I mean, this is really passionate. These conventions are so passionate, and I think our first supernatural conventions were similar. I mean, I was scared. I didn't know what to expect. I was really scared.
It's weird when you're an actor and you do a lot. Robbie and I both come from the world of doing things that aren't necessarily convention-friendly shows. So it's a very specific niche that has a convention following. So we've done other stuff, but you get into conventions, or you do a show like Supernatural, and they say, come to a convention. My first thought is, No, I don't. I'm going to be sitting in a giant room with people walking slowly past me, and I'm trying to sell headshots, going, "Meet me, please, somebody." But that's not how it is at all. It's not the world at all. And you refer to Comic-Con. Well, Comic-Con is the Super Bowl of the whole thing.
It really is, yeah.
It's just enormous.
Well, and how many people are at the Supernatural panel at Comic-Con? They're like
6,000
Yeah.
in just that one panel.
Yeah,
We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people in San Diego for that thing. That is unlike anything I've ever seen. And Robbie and I did
Mecca.
the first time we did that. We were doing live coverage from the floor, and so to walk into those giant convention center, I don't know, look like airplane hangars, and it's just filled with people who are wearing costumes that are slightly better than the actual film costumes.
Yeah.
It took more time and probably more money.
Totally.
And there's, obviously there's every aspect of media, TV, film, books, art, all covered there. It's just unbelievably, almost overwhelming to a point.
Yeah, I had a panic attack, full-on panic attack. We were on air doing this live thing on air, and I started flop sweating. I mean, there's so many people, It was
one of the funnier things. I mean, Rob, we can all laugh about it now because Rob survived, but I turned around. We're live coverage like we're doing right now, and I'm like, Bobo, this is crazy. What the hell happened to you? Because I thought somebody hit him with a water balloon because he was soaked through. I could see
a lot of people talk about the water balloons flying around Comic-Con, and that's a thing.
You could totally see both your nipples.
It was so great, too. The live TV is like, isn't that right, Bobo? Oh, my God. What? Can we get a close-up on this?
Turns out I might not have covered well. I guess I said, oh, there's Robbie doing the old soaked shirt bit. But no, I just
I'm
pointed
white as
it
a
out.
sheet.
We had to go to break.
Yeah.
You seem very comfortable right now. I can say that right now.
Thank you. Yes, I've gotten over it. Now I'm used to it.
He's also wearing a jacket over his shirt. So
Exactly. I've got like 5 layers on. No, it's so yeah, Comic-Con is it's intense. Like you said, it's the Super Bowl, and but now we're very comfortable there and comfortable, in that world.
So comfortable that you create a show about it.
Exactly.
So, I mean, there's an instance in, the series where you interact with some people that are dressed as your characters from Supernatural. Does that occur very often when you're out there? Are you running into a lot of Supernatural dressed people, or?
Yeah, I mean, more
at the larger conventions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, look, people love cosplaying. I think fans enjoy that as part of, not all fans love it, but for a lot of them, that's part of the sport of the whole thing. And it's cool.
And people cosplaying as our characters is more rare just because it's more of a niche. If like you're a Chuck fan or a Gabriel fan, so I'm always like, thank you so much. This is fantastic.
You vote for him in the contest.
Yeah. But we have a character on the show, Misha Collins' character, Castiel.
Of course.
Right, and he's got the long trench coat. That is probably the most cosplayed character on our show.
The spike in trench coat sales, city to city, as we go around, it's got to be enormous. Burberry's has to be very confused why in hot desert climates people are buying their trench coat. But the thing about it is our show is not, it's set at conventions. But it's a character-driven comedy about these two guys, built on the relationship of these two guys and their band of merry misfits, the other actors with whom they work at these conventions. And that's really, the backdrop is unique, but the sort of
situation.
Yeah, the bones of the thing are tried and true relationship comedy.
It's about this relationship. It's about the comedy. And we feel like we've made a show that even if you don't know the convention world, you'll still get it.
Yeah, early on, people would say, oh, so you've made a comedy for convention goers. And no, we've made a comedy for comedy lovers. Right. It just happens to be set at a convention.
Yeah. And did you guys have any, I guess, nervousness as portraying yourself? Or was that something that you guys were talking about? These are, I'm sure, heightened realities in some of the instances.
For sure.
And not pulled from the pages of your life.
No, we're playing characters of ourselves.
No,
for the most part.
Robbie and I had done, we do a lot of work on stage together at these conventions where essentially I host, Rob co-hosts, his band's on stage. We're up doing live improv, 40 minutes a morning, 3 days a week at 20 cities a year. So we do this a lot. And in so doing, we have developed this sort of fictionalized rapport, these sort of inflated versions of ourselves as characters and the rapport that exists between them. And so we took that from the stage and put it on the page. We just took that relationship, that dynamic, and that works well for what the fictional Rob and Rich, what their situations call for and what their relationship sort of is built upon. So it works well. So we tried it out on stage. We've been doing it on stage for a long time.
And it helped writing it. It kind of helped me to have Rob and Rich be the characters because it is based in a nugget of reality, and to start the real story and then have it take shape into this fictional thing. It was almost a challenge. It challenged me, us as writers, to go, okay, this is Rob and Rich, to almost make it, to try to make it real, seem real. It's one of those things where some of these things, like, the stories, they can't write, it writes itself.
Right.
And so it just, to me, like, having it as us, almost, it helped.
Right.
Were there any instances that were actually pulled from the pages, or like was there any
yeah,
like can you mention any of the things that you were like this has to be in the show?
Yeah, the one that we this is a good example of what I was just trying to say. We were in New Jersey at Whippany, New Jersey for a convention. A supernatural convention, and right after we checked in our hotel, we're on both on the 9th floor, and my phone is out of battery, so I call Rich on the house phone, right? And he's in room 911, and so I dialed 911, but I didn't press 7 to get out of the hotel first, or whatever you're supposed to do. So there's a person on the other line, going like 911, what's your emergency? And I was like, haha, Rich, do you want to go downstairs and get a beer? And he's like, no, what's your emergency? And I realized I'd called 911. And I start freaking out, and I'm like, "Hey, no emergencies. I'm at a hotel." And then the guy's like, "What hotel?" I was like, "You don't." And I like hung up, and then I was like,
You beelined it down to my room.
because I had this thought like, "Oh God, I just did something wrong. I don't know what I did, but I did something wrong." So I went to Rich's room, and Rich laughed, and then Rich was like, put his phone up. He's like, "This is gonna go in our show." So start retelling the story.
I would reenact it, yeah.
And then there's a knock at the door. And it's the police.
It was the cops, yeah.
And that really, really happened. And so that's one of those things where you're like, okay, I'm just gonna try to write this as Rich and Rob. And then we turned the script in to Comic-Con HQ, and they're like, I don't think the cops would actually come.
Cops would never
to the
show
door.
up. Like, oh, really? Wouldn't they?
But they did.
Yeah, I think every episode has some nugget of truth. It may not even be a major plot point. It may be some just background element, but something happened that, because Robbie and I keep these extensive notes, and we like to throw things in that.
One time we dress up sometimes for karaoke, and for some reason I was gonna put on suit pants, and I accidentally brought my wife's pants rather than my own, and so I'm like squeezing them over my legs. I'm like, something's wrong with these pants. And so that's in our show.
Some people consider that very trendy,
Yeah, I know.
It's very snug.
Yeah, it would have been too revealing. I couldn't get it over my bottom.
Now, how about the other supernatural stars? I mean, you guys have had some people guest star. Jared, Misha, as you're talking about, have visited the show.
Jensen.
Yeah, Jensen, exactly. So tell me about getting those guys on board and what they thought when you were first doing the show.
Well, I mean, we obviously built this on the back of the incredible support of the supernatural fandom. We started out as a crowdfunding campaign, and then that got the attention of Lionsgate and Comic-Con, which is how we ended up on Comic-Con.
Comic-Con HQ, which is a subscription.
Which is comic-con HQ.com, Bobo. Anyway, so we're building the show, and we have a lot of actor friends in our lives that we've worked with over the years. Obviously, a core element comes from the supernatural world. Not just Jared, Jensen, and Misha, but we have Sebastian Roche, we have Matt Cohen, Osric Chow, Kim Rhodes, a flurry of other folks from the supernatural universe. And it really came down to the idea that we knew we wanted to put together the best show we could. We wanted to pull as many favors as we could, and we pretty much went to Jared and Jensen and Misha and didn't say, would you do our show? We said, okay, you're doing our show. Here's your scene. And we'll fly to your town and shoot it if you don't come to LA, which is essentially what happened. Misha's scene, which aired last night, was
finale,
the first
exactly.
It was the very first scene we shot for the show. Oh wow! And by the way, the highest paid performer in the show is the monkey.
That monkey.
The monkey.
And that's not a...
The monkey's walking away with a taste of this. Nobody else.
That's not a joke either.
No.
Seriously, I cost a lot for that monkey. But yeah, the truth is we've all become really good friends. I mean, these are some of my best friends now because we spend so much time traveling together, and so everyone was just great.
They were so
wanting to be
supportive.
involved.
I mean, when Jared and Jensen came in to do their bit, which aired last night, they came in so eager to play ball. Obviously they're busy guys. They took time out of their schedule to divert to our sound stages in Simi Valley.
We improv some stuff.
Yeah, they came up with like a comedy ideas, like the whole bit. If you saw it, there's a whole bit about Jared taking his hat off, which he sort of led. That was his pitch. He did a whole bit. He's like, Rob should want my hat off. I'm like, ooh, that's funny. The whole thing. Jensen did this improv about us being from catering. Like it was all great. Those guys are really, really gifted comic actors, not just dramatic actors. And it was fun. I think it was fun for us to watch them do that. And from talking to them, I think they enjoyed being able to exercise that muscle, and just come in and be funny for an hour or two and let us take it from there.
Are there any other stars or people from the show that you're looking to get in the next season when you guys work on that?
Well, we'll see. I mean, we definitely, we had a pretty phenomenal group of people. I know Michael Cudlitz, Ron Livingston, Ike Barinholtz, Rick Gomez. We had an amazing group of people. Lindsay Sloan, who came in and did it this year. And we'd like to tap that group and more going forward because we have such a great group of talented friends. And now it's a much easier pitch, Bobo.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to try to explain what the show is. We've made the show, Rob.
It's going to be great. Trust me.
We show the show.
Yeah.
You don't believe us? What's the
It's
show?
the show.
Now, when you talk to Mike or you talk to Ike, I mean, what are you guys laying out for them as far as what Mike or Ike? What are you guys laying out for them as far as what the show is? Are they putting in their own stories? I'm sure they all have their own sort of treasure trove of.
I'm sure they
stories.
do.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do. But no, we wrote it. We spent so much time writing it and getting it into a place we felt comfortable about the comedy. And they're all just really good friends, and we're fortunate to have really good, talented friends. And
they trust what we do.
Yeah, Ike is one of those guys who's like, great, I'm doing it. Don't even know what's going on. I'm doing it. And Cutlets was great. There was a part of the cast that understood conventions and a part of the cast where we had to walk them through what it was.
Right.
And Cutlets is familiar with it because of Walking Dead.
Yeah, so he knew it really well. Ron did not. And it was also fun.
Lindsay did not. We had to,
having Rick Gomez and Ike Barinholtz together. I'm not sure to this day if they ever actually read the scene because so much what they did was improv.
Yeah.
And I was kidding Rick last night. Every now and then I'd go, they'd do a couple of takes. They were just hilarious. They were great. And I'm like, if we could just say one line that pertains to the story so I can maybe hinge the whole thing around that in the editing room. But it didn't matter because they're all such gifted professionals. And again, they know, they either know Rob really well, or they know me really well, or they know us both, and so they trust what we do. And that was very freeing because we didn't have to try to sell the idea. Even if they didn't know conventions, they trusted the concept and trusted the creators, and that was awesome.
I mean, you guys both had very memorable runs in the show. I mean, once your arcs have finished, are you still following along? You're directing episodes. So tell me how involved you still are in the show and in keeping up with the story.
Well, you just did a big arc.
Yeah, I did a big arc last season, and we feel very involved just because we're around everybody so much.
Right.
So we're in touch with the producers and the writers just because we're all in the same group of friends now. And,
We've never really left that social/professional circle. I mean, I've done 5 episodes of the show. I have no business being involved in the convention circuit at all.
But you're very
Memorable
much a part of
episodes, yes.
Yeah, but memorable episodes.
But now he's directing the episodes, which he's very much a part of the family, and that's what we both feel. And,
Right.
Last year when they called me back, I hadn't really been back. I was one episode in season 10, but I hadn't done much since season 4 and 5. So I'm back in season 11, but it wasn't like, so what's going on here?
Well,
Who
it's
am
also
I?
funny because when I finally got my shot to direct, which is the same season you came back in the end. So I'd been lobbying forever and directing short films and directing commercials and trying to get Bob Singer and Phil and Jeremy to give me a shot. And they gave me a shot. And then I went, oh, bleep. I better go back and watch the other seasons because I was kind of behind. So I was watching the seasons, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I was watching them on airplanes going to conventions, sitting next to Rob. And he'd lean over and go, "You're creeping me out. You're watching. We're sitting between Osric and me, and you're watching a scene with Osric. And it's." And
then this season he went back to direct, and he had to catch up on last season. So he's watching me on the plane. I was like, I was like, Dad, I'm so embarrassed.
And I kept stopping it and going, "What the hell? Why won't you help the boys out?"
He was like reacting to things my character was doing on the show. He's like, "What's your problem? Why'd you do that?"
Make up with your sister. It's not a big deal. Jeez, get over it.
Now, you guys have done memorable turns in a lot of film and television, very different than Supernatural. So when someone doesn't recognize you for Supernatural, what do they recognize you from most? I mean, there's Waiting, there's Thank You for Smoking. I mean,
we can't go to a restaurant where somebody doesn't know you.
I love that movie. I mean, that's like Ryan Reynolds before Ryan Reynolds and Anna Faris.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about
We got
that.
Bob.
Yeah. Yeah. That movie was a great experience. One of those movies that we didn't know while we were making it if anyone would ever see it. But we're having a blast doing it. We shot it in New Orleans. We were living that life that we portray in the show, in the movie, in the picture. And
In the talkie.
Yeah, it was great. And now I waited tables for many years, and so it's kind of nice when you go in restaurants, certain restaurants, waiters are like, hey, I'm like, yeah.
Are you ever worried? Because there's some gags that you pull off as waiters in that film that would be a little unnerved.
No, that's the thing, is I feel like when they recognize me, I'm good. Like I'm in the club. Like, you know what I mean? So I feel like
The odds are they won't lick his steak.
Yeah, exactly.
We're
If you
hoping.
guys haven't seen that, you have to watch that movie.
Yeah,
It's
you
so fun.
Yeah, you do it. Yeah, eat first, then watch the
Yeah,
movie.
then watch the
But
movie.
it's great. It's
Exactly.
super funny.
And how about yourself?
I think there was a stint there where I did a lot of Pepsi commercials, and I would get spotted as the Pepsi guy a lot. But also, Band of Brothers is a project that gets called out a lot.
I mean, tell us a little bit about that show. I mean, obviously that cast is amazing. I mean, Tom Hart, these guys before they were.
Yeah, I think you have James McAvoy coming in here next, who was in Band of Brothers.
Absolutely.
He was Miller, the replacement, in episode 4. So we had obviously kind of like Waiting. It was one of those series where they had Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg producing.
A lot of people always compare Waiting and Band of Brothers.
Hey, that's not the first time that.
Well, there's Band of Waiters, which was a great sequel. But we didn't have star. It was not a star-driven movie series. I think David Schwimmer was our biggest name at the time. But it is now given rise to Damian Lewis, Tom Hardy, McAvoy, Jason Amaro, who's on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Michael Cudlitz, obviously, Ron Livingston. Just tons of guys who've gone on to do great, amazing work. And it was an amazing project to be a part of because you're a young guy just wanting to do an acting job and work. And you get this job, and you suddenly realize this job is so far beyond my ability to grasp what it means to be an actor because it's actually about real men who did a real thing in a very, very difficult political and social time in this country's and this world's history. And now you're playing that guy, so you better check your ego at the door and do it right because people died in the process, and this is not a joke. And so we all took it very seriously, the whole process. And for that reason, we're all very close still. We all have a barbecue every year to commemorate the end of boot camp at Michael Cudlitz's house. Wow. And I still call him Bull. Most people still do. And it was just one of those incredibly bonding experiences that really I don't think anything will ever supplant that in my professional career because it was a rare experience to be a part of that and a real blessing.
Absolutely. Well, I guess we have some questions in the audience, so we'll start right there.
Hey guys, thank you
Hi.
for being here. So we had Osric Chow a while ago here on Build. Can you talk about what was it like working with him on this show?
Yeah, Osric's great. We've become close with Osric because he does so many conventions with us. He's a great, supportive team player. Like he just is like, yeah, whatever you need, man. Even like last night we had this Kings of Conversation, our live after show. And Osric came and was just to be in the audience. Like he's really not. He doesn't crave the spotlight. He just comes to support, and that's what it was like as an actor as well. Like, because we had to. The first scene we shot with him was the pilot, which was basically we didn't have a script. We were just like, let's go in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Osric was wearing a dress and a wig. He was cosplaying.
Yeah, he was actually wearing the dress and the wig. That wasn't our costume for him. That's what he was cosplaying
He was
that day.
cosplaying as Mary from Supernatural. So anyway, we go in the bathroom and we kind of improv a scene, and that stayed in. So when we wanted him back for like episode 2, which was a continuation, we were like, do you have that dress and wig? And I think he had to like
dig it up.
Someone
yeah.
had to fly it in or something. He puts on this wig that's like 2 sizes too short for his head, and like it's halfway through a long day of shooting, he's like, "Can I take the wig off? It's like burning my head." Like his whole head was just being, like a rubber
cinched.
band.
But that's why Osric's name is Osric in the series, and Matt Cohen's name is Matt in the series. Because when we were just really duct taping together a teaser for it, we shot that one scene in the bathroom that remained in the pilot. And because it was just improv, we called each other by our real names, Matt and Osric. So everybody else got fictionalized names, but Matt and Osric joined the Robin Rich Club of being heightened versions of themselves.
And they had no choice but to be in it because can't find another Osric.
They're established.
So yeah, he's great.
Great
He's
guy.
such a team player.
Awesome. Next question right there.
Hey guys,
Hi.
thanks for being here. Besides Supernatural, is there like another franchise that you guys would like to be a part of?
Oh, man. Well, you're going to say The Bachelor.
You got
I
the
would
beard
love to
for
be
it
the
right now
Bachelor.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Game of Thrones. I'm a real big fan of Game of Thrones.
I feel like on The Bachelor, my problem is going to be
That you're not a bachelor?
I'm married with 2 children.
Yeah, that's going to...
In my 40s.
That's
That's not. That doesn't always fly.
Hello, ladies.
Yeah. Yeah, I love those shows. In all honesty, that like Game of Thrones, where you really,
Game of Thrones.
your brain can just go somewhere else, and you don't even know, you don't realize you're watching TV anymore. Like that, I would love to be. I would be with
Does House
you.
of Cards count? I love House of Cards too. The whole political element to that. I love it. And we were just talking about Westworld.
Westworld, that'd be interesting. I'd love to play a robot.
I'd love to play a robot. I'd like to. Robot who just always is known for keeping his clothes on. You know, one of those robots who.
You'd be great. Yeah.
Sort of the machine gone wrong.
Please.
Anthony Hopkins, like,
You're like, do you need me to disrobe while we do this?
No.
Actually,
We're good.
you're good.
We're good.
Keep that shirt on.
You're fine, sir.
You'd be great in the Old West. Like, hey, we should grow your beard long.
The way it is now. Yeah. I knew I had that sort of salty inbred energy. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Amazing
those
answers.
Friends.
Yeah.
Amazing answers. And one last question right there.
Hi.
All my paper
I love
What's up?
your Cookie Monster hat.
Thank you, man.
That's awesome.
I'm feeling like the Cookie Monster today.
There you go.
Good.
You guys were talking about earlier about different fan interactions at conventions. I'm curious, have you experienced an interaction with different stars at the conventions that might seem pretty surreal and out there?
Oh, interesting question. You know, I think in the supernatural universe, we're kind of friends with everybody.
But at Comic-Con, you know, we've seen, you know, you walk by and there's Stan Lee or
Yeah, that was trippy.
or the dude who played Chewbacca. We're like, dude, it's Chewbacca.
Peter
Chewbacca.
Mayhew.
Yeah, Peter Mayhew. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
but you walk by.
you got his autograph.
Heck yeah, I
You got
did.
it. And didn't he sign it?
Yeah,
On the,
he literally did that. I was like, wow, that just
and
happened.
we saw Shatner, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite Comic-Con story, which I wasn't a part of, but it happened one of the years we were there, is that a lot of these big stars, obviously, Robbie and I can walk the floor at Comic-Con, and Supernatural fans will stop us. But everybody else doesn't know who the hell we are. So it's okay. We can kind of move around the floor fine. But if you're a big star and your show is being featured there, you don't really get a chance to experience it. So the story goes that Bryan Cranston wanted to check out the floor, but knew he'd be recognized, so he bought a Heisenberg mask, put it on, and walked the floor as Heisenberg, which is a hat on a hat, and
It's
brilliant.
great, yeah.
We got, I also, in our world, I remember when Jeffrey Dean Morgan first did a convention.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal because, Jared and Jensen knew him, but we didn't, and he'd become a huge star in his own right at that point.
We were intimidated, but he's the least intimidating person.
He's the
the
nicest
coolest
guy in the world.
Did he have the bat with him, or?
No, it was
This is pre-bat.
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 Yeah.
PB, JDM.
Yeah. You call him Jeff. It was great. It was
Yeah.
like my Bobby De Niro moment. I
He
was
was
like,
wearing,
hey, Jeff.
He was wearing a Loudon Swain T-shirt for
Yeah,
the whole.
he was wearing my band T-shirt.
Yeah, he was
and he wanted
great.
a picture with the band. And I was like, yeah, sure.
Awesome.
But yeah, I've definitely been in moments not at conventions, but just in my life where I'm fanning over something.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're big fans of other things. So
Yeah.
we totally we get along well in
I think
that
Mark
world.
Shepard, who's on Supernatural, says at every convention, and he says it correctly, which is he doesn't trust anybody who's not a fan of something. Anybody who claims not to be a fan is not being honest, because we somewhere deep inside we all get giddy when we see something or someone, and we're no exception.
Well, guys, absolutely check out Kings of Con on Comic-Con HQ.
Yes.
Download it, everything. The finale just
You can
aired,
watch.
so
you can binge all
watch
10
all of
episodes
it.
now. Yeah.
More of these. One more hand for these guys. Here
Oh,
we go.
thank you
Rob
so
and
much.
Rich.
Thank you so much.